Welcome to Scambaiting Emails. Today's correspondence is with the CEO of General Motors. If you're like me, and I know I am, probably you're shocked by the idea of the CEO of General Motors being a scammer. I am very nearly certain that wasn't the CEO of General Motors. It was someone pretending to be the CEO of General Motors. Later in this video, however, I will reveal something about the real CEO of General Motors that probably will shock you. It all begins with this email from Mrs. Mary Barra. Good day. Form Chevrolet Truck Dealership. I am Mrs. Mary Barra, CEO of Chevrolet Truck, and I am writing to inform you about your Chevrolet truck winning that was brought by the United Embassy, which has been in our office for so long. Due to the past pandemic virus, we could not deliver the Chevrolet truck and your funds worth of $85,000 US dollars. Now it has settled down slowly in the government of USA in the White House, Washington, D.C. The two Chevrolet trucks have been mandated to be delivered to your address as soon as possible once you provided them, such as. And then she includes a list that appears to be asking for stuff about me that's really none of her business. Get back to me as soon as possible to make sure that the responder is the owner of the package here. Thanks, God bless you. And she thoughtfully includes photographs of the two trucks that are supposed to be delivered to my address as soon as possible. Attention, Mrs. Barra. I opened your email with great expectations and excitement that at last my prized Chevrolet truck has been recovered after mysteriously disappearing following the article about it by Ed Drood in the Frostproof Daily Mirror Gazette Times. The last I saw of it was when Martin Chuzzlewit asked if he could drive it up to Barnaby Rudge to take some photographs. I don't know how the U.S. Embassy got involved, but nobody from there ever contacted me. My truck has become so long time gone that it made our house a bleak house, both literally and figuratively. Regardless of the pandemic virus and the hard times it created for numerous people, neither you nor the government had the right to mandate my truck. In addition to the vehicle's cash value, there was an autographed Chuck Dickens baseball card in the glove compartment that was worth literally a lot of money, which I turned down when that's what the old curiosity shop on Armadillo Road offered me if I would sell it to them. The U.S. Constitution specifically prohibits the mandating of a person's private property without a judge's order, and I can't imagine any sane automotive judge would agree to issue such an order. If I am mistaken and my truck's mandation was approved by a licensed automotive judge, I respectfully demand that you send me a notarized copy of that document as required by law. In the meantime, I have absolutely no intention of paying you $85,000 US dollars to replace that truck, so you can just forget about that. I regret having to speak to you so acrimoniously, but under the circumstances, what do you expect? I am willing to pretend that I believe this whole thing was an innocent act of incompetence by your office. As such, I shall expect to be fully compensated both for my truck and for my Chuck Dickens baseball card. I shall await your prompt and apologetic reply, along with the compensation enumerated in the paragraph above. In sincerity, Rob, or as my friends call me, Rob McClent. Mrs. Mary Barra replies, I got your whole message you sent me, and it is very, very long that it takes me a few minutes to read them all, but I'm glad that I did. And back to business. This truck and funds actually belong to you for real, and all you have to do now is to confirm your address, where to deliver the truck and your funds to you today. Attention, Mrs. Barra. Thank you for your response. I am enamulated to hear that you did read my whole message, so you could be fully elucidated on this entire ugly situation. In your response, you say, this truck and funds actually belongs to you for real. I know that. That's why I am so upset that you, or one of your employees, mandated my truck. The entire point of the U.S. Constitution was to protect against governmental dirty tricks such as the confiscation of my property without due process or just compensation. but for some reason you or one of your employees violated the Fifth Amendment's taking clause and the Fifth and 14th Amendment's due process clauses. Especially because you live in Detroit, the birthplace of the American Revolution, I would think you would protect and serve the allodial titles of all Americans, especially me. When can I expect full compensation for my illegally mandated truck, including the baseball card that was in the glove compartment? I realize that with the holiday season, it might take a few more days than normal, but that's normal and to be expected. As before, in response to your previous email that you sent me earlier prior to this one, I would like you to give me a straight answer to that straight question. P.S. According to the latest edition of the Hannes Wagner Sports Memorabilia Evaluation Guide, the autographed Chuck Dixon card that was in the glove compartment was worth somewhere between $14,000 and $14,050. Although that amount of money cannot replace its lost sentimental value, make sure it is added to my $85,000, which would bring the total to either $89,000 or $89,050. A few minutes later, she's back. You actually have to try as much as you can and send me the $1,000 Apple card here so that I will complete this delivery of your truck and your funds to your house today successfully without asking you for any more money again, okay? Attention, Mrs. Barra. Point number 1. I still am waiting for you to respond to my previous email that I sent you before this one. Point number 2. What $1,000 Apple card are you talking about? You never have mentioned that before, and this is the first time you are mentioning it, so I don't even know what you are talking about. I suggest that first you arrange the compensation for my illegally mandated truck, and then we can adjust our focus on whatever this Apple card is all about. I'm not sure she addresses either of those points in her reply. All you have to do is send this required payment of $1,000, and your truck and your funds will be delivered to you without any delay, and the main important thing you have to do at this moment is to confirm your address where to deliver your truck and your funds to you. And she's back the following day. I know that you have already been scammed too many times, and because of that you can't trust or believe anyone else again, but I want to let you know that I'm only here to make sure that you receive what actually belongs to you, and I'm giving you my word that once you send me this required payment of $1,000 via Apple Card, I'm going to deliver your truck and your funds to you successfully without asking you for any more money and without any more further delay. Attention, Mrs. Barra. This is the third time you have said I need to send you a required payment of $1,000 via Apple Card, but you never have told me what the gosh darn heck you're talking about. 1. You haven't told me why I'm supposed to send you $1,000. 2. You haven't told me where to send it. 3. You just keep reminding me without ever having explained to me what, where, and why. Believe you me, I didn't get where I am today by sending $1,000 Apple gifts to a place where I don't know where to send them to and without knowing why I'm supposed to be sending them. In this business world, we refer to that as jive talking, and it's a tragedy to see a person of your exalted position wasting my or anyone's time with it. No matter how many times you remind me, first you have to tell me exactly what in the wide world of sports you're talking about. Please stop reminding me about something you never told me about. I mean, geez Louise. Also, what do you mean by I've already been scammed too many times? I've never been scammed because I'm too smart for that. Who told you I have been scammed many or any times? Good day to you, sir. The reason why you have to send this required payment of $1,000 I have been telling you about is for the delivery of your trucks and your funds to your house, and once you make the payment, I'm going to deliver your truck and your funds to you successfully without asking you for any more money again. Attention, Mrs. Barra. Thank you for your reply, which unfortunately does not make any sense. 1. Do you remember how in a previous email I sent you before this one, I said to you, I've never been scammed because I'm too smart for that? Who told you I have been scammed many or any times? I still am waiting to be elucidated regarding what scams I allegedly have been the victim of. I don't remember ever being scammed. If I ever had been scam victimized, you'd think I would remember something like that, don't you? To my knowledge, the closest I ever came to being scammed was many years ago when I was doing my grocery shopping at the nearby Piggly Wiggly, probably the most popular supermarket for my generation, and took a squeeze box of chocolate ice cream from the ice cream freezer, but when I got to the cashier's line, I discovered it wasn't chocolate, it was mocha. But because I was smart enough to spot it in time, that can't count as being scammed because, despite their angry curses, I foiled them again. Speaking of scams, if you weren't a respected company, such as General Motors, I would have to wonder if you are attempting to trick me into some sort of scam victim situation. I hasten to add that, of course, I know that you are trustworthy and on the up. How can you be talking about delivery of my truck, or as you said in your most recent message to which I presently am responding herein, trucks? Now you're talking about more than one truck, when by your own admission you already have mandated my truck. After you mandated it, did you have it cremated and now you're going to send me its ash remains? And I'm supposed to pay you $1,000 for the privilege of receiving those ash remains and, I assume, putting them in some place of honor inside my garage where the real non-cremated, non-mandated truck lived so happily and contentedly? Because I know that you are highly respected in the worlds of business and commerce, obviously I do not believe you would expect me to believe such malarkey. I don't want to blow my own bugle, but I guarantee I am not some sort of ignorant folt. It's possible that there's no such word as folt, and that I mistyped fool. Because I am not an Ann Southern type person who believes in automotive reincarnation, I do not understand how a truck that already has been mandated can be worth $1,000. As I previously and eloquently said before, in an email that I sent you earlier prior to this one, if your mandating of my truck was done legally, with a judge's order, once again I must respectfully demand that you send me a notarized copy of that document, which you are required by law to send to me if I request it, which I have. Note that you don't need to have a notarization that the document is genuine, because why wouldn't it be? But the form itself, the one you're sending me a copy of, has to bear the notarization that confirms it is legitimate. Thank you for your prompt attention in this matter. Surprisingly, several days passed without my receiving a reply. So, demonstrating once again why Tenacious is my middle name, named after my maternal grandfather, again I initiate contact. Attention, Mrs. Barra. I hope you are having a good New Year's Day, and that you are not as distracted by the loud celebratory fireworks that have been going on all night and day here as I am. I had expected that by now you would have provided to me the legally required certificate of official mandation that allowed you to mandate my truck. Please attach a copy of that certificate when you reply to this email. I also need to know which scams of which I allegedly have been a victim. Finally, I do not understand the purpose of the $85,000. Please elucidate that for me so that I may understand. Thank you for your kind assistance and understanding. That seems to have done the trick, because 12 minutes later, this lands in my inbox. I didn't reply to this, your last message, before the recent one because I definitely don't know where to start. And I have told you that your responsibility here is to send this required payment of $1,000 through Bitcoin along with your address where I'm going to deliver your trucks and your funds to you, but you don't understand that either. You keep asking me too many questions that's not necessary, so I decided to quit and forget about the transaction, so please let me know if you are ready to focus and do everything I asked you to do in order to get this delivery done. Attention, Mrs. Barra. Your statement that you have told me to send the required payment of $1,000 through Bitcoin is an indefensible prevarication. Show me even just one other email in which you mentioned Bitcoin. The email I am responding to right now is the only time you have mentioned Bitcoin. It is difficult to understand how someone possessing your mendacity ever became CEO. As you know, a couple of years ago, you were paid $34.1 million by the Chevrolet Truck Company, Inc. That happens to be true. The real Ms. Barrett did receive a $34.1 million bonus from General Motors. That's quite a bonus. As it happens, I've never received a bonus. But if I had, I'll bet it wouldn't have been more than half of the bonus the real person really was paid by the real company. For that kind of money, one would expect you to possess at least a modicum of truthfulness and basic literacy. Over the years, I have communicated with hundreds of CEOs of very large companies, and none of them complained that it takes too long for them to read a very, very long email that a more or less average fifth grader could read in just a minute, or perhaps at most in 90 seconds. It would appear that you got your CEO job just because they felt they had to hire a girl to appear modern rather than a man, which most CEOs are. Chevrolet Truck Company, Inc.'s stockholders should demand a refund for the amount of money they paid to buy their stock in your company. Cordially, Rob McClin. And suddenly, inexplicably, all communication from Miss Barra ceases. Perhaps the strain of having to read my very, very long emails simply became too much for her. After all, she's a girl, not a qualified male CEO. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe to our channel so you'll know whenever I've added a new Scambaiting email video. If you'll be kind enough to share your comments, suggestions, requests, and reactions to this video in the comments section below, I promise to make sure Rob sees it. It's been an honor to share this Scambaiting adventure with you. In sincerity and on behalf of Rob McClin.